been taught a lie your whole life. You've been told that the way to get closer to a woman is by asking her questions, where she's from, what she does, what she likes. You think this makes you curious, charming, even attentive. But let me ask you, when has a question ever made her feel something? Think carefully. Every man asks questions. Every man follows the script. And because of that, every man becomes forgettable. But you, if you choose a different path, will become unforgettable. The truth is unsettling. Women are not moved by what you ask. They are moved by what you reveal. And this is what men were never meant to understand, because if you did, the balance of power would shift forever. You see, every question is an admission that you are not enough. You probe, you seek, you chase for scraps of her story to make your own presence seem worthy. But the emperor within you, the true masculine force, does not seek approval through interrogation. He commands presence by speaking truth, not fishing for hers. A question says, "I don't know who I am. Perhaps your answer will tell me." A statement says, "I know who I am, and I'm letting you into my world." That difference is the fire women feel, though they will never confess it. When you approach her, understand this. She is not searching for a man who catalogues her answers like an accountant. She is searching for the rare man who can draw her into his gravity without effort, without asking permission. And the way to do that is not by questioning, but by declaring. Speak your thoughts, your observations, your essence. Instead of, "What do you do for fun?" you say, "You strike me as someone who never settles for ordinary nights." She leans in. Why? Because now she feels something. You've not asked her to open a door. You've opened one for her and dared her to step inside. Men think the art of conversation is about curiosity. It is not. It is about power. Questions make you small. Statements make you vast. And when you learn this, when you dare to stop asking and start declaring, you step into a field most men will never touch, the field of the unforgettable. A woman's heart does not open to the man who begs for her story. It opens to the man who lives a story so captivating that she wants to be written into it. Do you see the difference? Most men stand before her like beggars. "Tell me about yourself. Please give me something to hold on to." But the man who has cultivated his presence, his words, his energy, does not ask. He reveals. He drops fragments of his reality, and she cannot help but chase more. That is not arrogance, that is nature. When you stop asking questions, you stop putting her in the role of a teacher. Because when you ask, she feels like she is above you, as though she is the source of the treasure, and you are the miner. That kills attraction. She cannot feel desire for the man who makes her the examiner. But when you shift, when you replace questions with bold declarations, you put her in the role of the student, eager to learn about you, drawn to uncover the mystery that you create. Instead of asking, "Where are you from?" you say, "You carry yourself like someone who doesn't belong to this city." That single statement is richer than 100 questions. Why? Because it shows observation, it sparks curiosity, it ignites imagination. She will respond with her origin anyway, but it is her choice now, not your request. And in that difference lies the seed of attraction. Think of the Roman generals before battle. Did they ask their soldiers, "Do you feel brave today? Are you ready to fight?" No. They declared the vision. They spoke words that shaped destiny, and the men followed willingly. Women are no different. They are not waiting for your questions. They are weighty. Now for your certainty, your conviction, your unapologetic voice. The man who knows this becomes dangerous. For every word he speaks is a movement of energy, not an attempt at approval. She cannot pin him down, cannot categorize him, cannot box him in. He is alive, and in his presence she feels alive too. This is what separates the lover from the stranger, the remembered from the forgotten. If you continue to ask questions, you will remain like every man she has ever met. But if you declare instead, you become the man she has always longed to feel. Understand this. The moment you ask a question, you reveal a hunger. Hunger is not attractive. Hunger reeks of desperation. A woman can smell it before you even finish the sentence. You ask where she studied, what her favorite music is, what kind of food she likes. And in that instant she knows. You are trying to build a bridge with bricks she has already given to countless men before you. She has answered these questions 100 times. To her, you are nothing more than a shadow of the same conversation, the same dull pattern, the same forgettable man. But when you speak without asking, when you declare, everything changes. She feels the shift immediately. Instead of asking, "Do you like to travel?" you tell her, "I can tell you'd lose yourself in a city like Rome, chaotic, alive, ancient." Suddenly she feels seen, not questioned, not interrogated, seen. She feels mystery because you are not asking her to build the connection. You are creating it with your own energy. This is the masculine power men have forgotten. To speak without asking permission, to bring life into the moment without begging her to provide it. The man who says, "You look like you don't let people in easily," has already drawn her into a moment of vulnerability, of intimacy, without ever asking a question. That is not manipulation, it is leadership, and women crave it. You must train yourself to think this way. When you feel the urge to ask, replace it with an observation, a statement, a truth. If you are wrong, it does not matter, because even in being wrong, you show boldness, you show presence, you show courage. A wrong declaration is more attractive than 100 timid questions. Why? Because women are not moved by accuracy, they are moved by energy. When you ask nothing and reveal everything, you separate yourself from the swarm of men who orbit her like moths around a flame. She begins to wonder about you. She begins to lean forward. She begins to chase. Because in a world where every man asks, you have become the rare man who speaks, and that is the man she cannot forget. Women live in a world where men compete for their attention every hour of the day. Social media, dating apps, passing glances on the street. Every man is asking, begging, hoping for an opening. And what do they all do? They ask questions. They think curiosity is charm. But curiosity without presence is nothing but weakness disguised as interest. The woman already knows this pattern. She has been asked, "How was your day?" more times than she can count. Do you think she remembers any of the men who asked? No. But she will always remember the man who made her feel something without asking for anything. A woman does not need another interviewer. She needs an experience. She needs to feel that being in your presence is a storm she cannot predict. When you stop asking, you create that unpredictability. You strip away the script. You force her out of autopilot. Instead of her answering a routine question, she is caught off guard, pulled into the moment. You say, you have that look in your eyes, like you've walked through fire and survived. Her heart skips. Why? Because no man has ever framed her existence in such a way. In that instant, you are no longer another man. You are the man. Questions are chains. They lock you into her rhythm. She leads, you follow. But statements are weapons. They cut through the noise. They force her to respond in a way she never expected. Even silence becomes your ally. You say, "I don't think you're used to someone like me." And then you stop. That silence, that pause, pulls her in deeper than any question ever could. Now she must fill the space. Now she must prove herself to you. The power shifts. The balance changes. Men fear this shift because it feels unnatural. They cling to questions because questions feel safe. But safe is invisible. Safe is forgettable. A man who is safe never wins her soul, only her politeness. The man who risks, who speaks, who declares, who dares to be bold, that is the man who imprints on her mind. And when you imprint, she cannot let go. She may not understand why, but she will feel it in her chest every time she thinks of you. This is the way of the Stoic warrior, not to ask, but to embody, not to chase, but to attract. When you understand this, you begin to walk as emperors once walked, calm, certain, desired. There is a reason most men crumble in front of women. They believe the game is about collecting information. They think if they ask enough questions, they will discover the magic key that unlocks her desire. But desire is not logical. It is not built on facts. Desire is born from feeling, and questions rarely create feeling. They create boredom. Statements, however, create fire. Think about it. When you ask her, "What do you do for work?" she answers with a rehearsed line. She said it 1,000 times. No spark, no mystery. But when you say, "You don't strike me as the type who could sit behind a desk for long," suddenly she feels something stir. Maybe she proves you wrong. Maybe she agrees. Maybe she laughs. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you pulled her into a dance. You made her step outside the mechanical script she gives to the rest of the world. That moment, small as it seems, is the seed of attraction. Women are not attracted to the man who gathers details. They are attracted to the man who forces them to feel alive. This is why musicians, poets, warriors, and leaders have always stirred the hearts of women. They speak in declarations, not in questions. They say, "This is the world as I see it," and she is drawn into that world. Questions seek her reality. Statements impose yours. And women do not want to live in their own story. They want to escape into yours. This is not about arrogance. It is about courage. Courage to stop asking for permission to connect. Courage to reveal who you are without fear of judgment. Courage to stand firm in your words, even if they are imperfect. A man who risks saying the wrong thing is infinitely more attractive than the man who hides behind endless safe questions. Because the first man is alive, the second is already dead. And here is the truth. Women are not looking for the perfect answer. They are looking for a man who makes them forget the question. That is what you must become. The man who does not play the game of interview, but the man who ignites the flame of experience. When she walks away from you, she should not remember the facts she gave you. She should remember how you made her blood move faster. That is the essence of power. That is the art of speaking without asking. Most men believe women are impressed by knowledge. Facts about her life, her past, her favorite colors, her dreams. They think if they can gather enough pieces of her puzzle, she will reward them with intimacy. But this is not true. Women are not impressed by what you know. They are drawn to how you make them feel. You can know everything about her and still be invisible. But if she feels intensity in your presence, she will never forget you. That is why you must learn to speak in ways that stir her emotions, not her logic. Questions touch the surface, declarations pierce the heart. Imagine the difference between saying, "Do you go to the gym?" versus, "I can tell discipline runs through your veins, you don't let yourself slip." The first is curiosity, the second is recognition. Women crave recognition, not interrogation. Recognition makes them feel seen. Questions make them feel measured. You must become the kind of man who draws out her emotions without demanding them. Instead of asking, "Are you shy?" you say, "I can see the quiet storm in you. You don't need to say much, but I can feel the weight of your thoughts." Whether you are right or wrong doesn't matter. What matters is that she feels noticed, felt, and understood on a level deeper than words. That is what binds her to you. Understand also the subtle power in withholding. The man who does not ask questions shows he does not need her story to validate his interest. He is content in his own being. He is not desperate for pieces of her past to make her real. His reality is already full. And because of that, she feels pulled into him like gravity. She thinks, "Why does he not pry like other men? Why does he not chase my answers?" That question begins to haunt her. And in that haunting lies your power. It is in the spaces you create, the silences you allow, the truths you speak without seeking permission that she feels something rare, masculine certainty. And certainty is irresistible. It is the antidote to the noise of her world. Every man asks, begs, and pulls. The man who does not ask, who simply is, becomes a mystery she cannot stop trying to solve. The greatest mistake men make is believing conversation is a transaction. They think, if I ask her enough questions, she will give me pieces of herself, and I can trade those pieces for attraction. But women are not merchants. They do not give desire in exchange for your curiosity. They give desire when they feel your presence. And presence is never built by questions. It is built by energy, tone, and the certainty of your words. Think of the philosophers, the emperors, the conquerors. Did they ask permission to be heard? Did they pepper their people with questions, begging for a response? No, they spoke with conviction, and the world leaned closer to listen. This is the same law that governs intimacy. You are not to be the interviewer. You are to be the axis. She revolves around your presence, not the other way around. Try this. The next time you are tempted to ask, "What do you like to do on weekends?" Stop yourself. Instead say, "You seem like the kind of woman who makes every weekend feel like an adventure." Now watch the difference. Her eyes light up. Her guard drops. She feels both understood and intrigued. And most importantly, she feels that you see her as more than just a source of information. You see her as a living energy. That is what every woman secretly craves. But here's the warning. When you begin to live this way, when you stop asking and start declaring, you will intimidate many. Women who are used to weak men may resist at first. They may test you, try to pull you back into the safe pattern of small talk. Do not collapse. Do not retreat into questions. Hold the frame. Speak with certainty. Breathe with calmness. Let your silence carry more weight than their noise. When you do this, something magical happens. The very women who resisted you at first will begin to soften, because deep down they are starving for a man who dares to lead. This is why men who master this art are rare and therefore irresistible. Women cannot explain why they feel drawn. They will tell themselves, "He's different," but what they mean is, "He does not ask me to feed him with answers. He feeds me with his presence." And once she has tasted that, she cannot go back. Now hear me, because this is the final truth few men will ever grasp. When you stop asking questions, you stop chasing. And when you stop chasing, she begins to chase you. This is not a trick. This is not a tactic. It is the natural order of desire. The masculine does not beg. It draws. The feminine does not reward. It surrenders. But only to the man who knows how to stand firm in his presence without needing to grasp at her words. Every question is a signal of insecurity. It says, "I need you to give me something so I can feel safe." And women are ruthless in how they respond to weakness. They sense it instantly, and their attraction dies silently. They may smile, they may answer politely, but inside the flame has already gone out. On the other hand, every declaration, every bold statement of observation, every unshaken silence signals strength. It says, "I need nothing from you, and yet I choose to share myself with you." That is the paradox women cannot resist, the man who wants her but does not need her. This is the Stoic path, to master not only your words but your presence, to remember that conversation is not about collecting facts but about creating energy. You must become a storm that she cannot explain, a weight she cannot ignore, a presence that lingers long after you leave the room. When you are this man, you never ask, "How do I keep her interested?" She keeps herself interested because your existence has already carved itself into her mind. So I tell you, stop asking questions. Stop looking for answers in her words. Speak your truth. Declare your vision. Let your silence breathe power. If you see something in her, say it. If you feel something in the moment, own it. Be bold enough to be wrong, because the man who dares to be wrong is already more alive than the man who hides behind safe questions. And women will always choose life over safety. When you master this, you no longer talk to girls. You no longer flirt. You no longer try. You simply are. And your presence alone becomes the most intoxicating conversation she has ever had. That is how you speak like a man. That is how you command without asking. And that is how you step into the world as Marcus Aurelius once did, not begging for answers, but declaring truths that echo long after you are gone.